and happiness. I love those words. Let us share peace and happiness. Let us share peace and kindness. And so utando actually means love. We have a lot of languages in South Africa, so it's one of the languages, Zulu, love. We're now going to move back into the formalities. It's so funny, Trevor, I have to tell you, so at the Knowledge Center, your name came up a couple of times yesterday. You will need to find out what they were saying about you. But he's going to speak to us about some really critical information about if we want to really expand Africa and really see the expansion of Africa, we have to watch for the pipeline. Because if you don't know what's coming, you don't know how to approach it and how to take advantage of it. So please, help me warmly welcome on stage, Trevor Ward. You're awesome.
If that wasn't a hard act to follow, I just don't know what is, honestly. And I ain't dancing or singing. Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you, Bench, for inviting me back to speak to you. As usual, I'm going to speak about the pipeline, the hotel and resort development pipeline in Africa. But I'm also going to be talking about the future. No pipeline, no growth. So, as usual, where we got? Yeah, so as usual, many of you probably know that in the beginning of each year, I ask the hotel chains to tell me what's in their pipeline. So if the figures are wrong, don't blame me, blame the chains. So 50 chains, it's not bad. I think I've got almost all the chains active in Africa, North and Sub-Saharan Africa. Between them, they have 145 brands in their pipeline in 42 out of 54 countries. And the total these days is 577 hotels with 104,444 rooms, a nice, easy to remember number when I'm actually trying to write the report. And that's an amazing 13.3% growth on last year's pipeline. An amazing 25% growth in North Africa and 6%, a reasonable growth in Sub-Saharan Africa. And I've lost my way. Dominated by two regions. North Africa, 47% of the entire future pipeline, future growth in the continent of Africa, and West Africa, 24. When you consider that North Africa, there's only 4 countries there. There's nothing in Libya, so we have Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Only 4 countries out of the 54 in the entire continent are 47% of the pipeline. More on that in a minute. West Africa, there are 13 countries out of 16 in the region with pipeline. Not much in Central Africa, despite, mostly because of instability in many countries. And that's, sorry, this is where. This is the where. I'll get to the who in a minute. And Egypt, one country, dominates and has dominated for so many years. It's 25% of the entire pipeline is in Egypt. There's a but coming in a minute. 25% of projects, properties, and 35% of rooms are in Egypt. Cape Verde comes in there at number 5, one of the smallest countries in Africa, despite the fewer projects, but they're big beach boxes, BBBs, some of them 500 and more hotels. Tanzania's there as well. Tanzania includes Zanzibar, which is one of the current hotspots for not just for pipeline, but actually for openings as well. Zanzibar, of all the resorts in Africa, comes in at number 3 after Sharm el-Sheikh and Boa Vista in Cape Verde. Where are we at? So this is the who. Marriott, like Egypt, dominates the where. Marriott dominates the who. They've been signing. Almost nowhere 12 years ago, 10 years ago, but they are now dominating the who with almost 30% of the total pipeline. Big 5 globally, well, they're the big 5 in Africa as well. But my focus today is much less on the pipeline. Pipeline is future, and as our speaker Herman this morning says, any future projection is in a world of extreme uncertainty at the moment. So I'm going to talk a lot about what has actually been happening. This graph is all about what we call actualization. Some of you will have seen it before. The percentages there in the white are the percentage of the pipeline hotels and resorts that actually opened on time. What do I mean by on time? On time means in the year that the chains who contributed their data said they were going to open. Past that sentence, okay? Said they were going to open. The blue bar is what they anticipated was going to open each year, and the orange bar is the actual, what we call the actualization. It's the progress towards the holy grail of net unit growth. And it's net unit growth that drives stock value for the quoted companies, not pipeline. 2019, can I find it? 2019? There you go. Superb. 2019, 75% of the pipeline opened on time. No surprise that 2020, 2022 and 21 were pretty dire. We all know why. It's a complete mystery to me why 2023 was so bad. Just anybody got any answers? But then who cares? It's in the past. It's gone. We got better last year at 38%. 59 hotels and resorts opened in Africa out of an anticipated 157. 38%. Not so bad. This is where they opened. About 19 countries there, total of 59, nearly 10,000 rooms opened in Africa. Morocco come up top, number 1 with 10 openings. Kenya, Tanzania, 7 each, and then 1s, 2s, and 3s all over. Interestingly, although Central Africa doesn't have a great pipeline, there were 2 openings last year in Central Africa, one in Congo, a Hilton in Congo, and our friends from Chick opened a Novotel in Kinshasa last year. That's easier to see, isn't it? And so the red there, Morocco, it's happening. That's the important thing. It's happening in Morocco. You can see Kenya, Tanzania there on the right-hand side. Egypt. Egypt is 30% of the pipeline, the future anticipated openings. How many opened there last year? 3. Why? Well, I dug into it, and I think the answer is that Egypt has a very young pipeline. Very young pipeline. 70% of Egypt's pipeline hotels and resorts was signed in 22, 23, 24. So it's a young pipeline. You cannot expect them to have opened yet. But there's a massive expectation of openings in the last 2 years. Next 2 years. Before I come to that, this is where the openings happened. Just look at the numbers there. That we're not very good at airport hotels in Africa, but it does depend a little bit on how you define an airport hotel. But what I find interesting here is that although resorts are only about 30% of the entire pipeline, they represented 47% of openings. Maybe some panels here will dig into that and say, why are more resorts opening than city hotels? Are they easier? Maybe. I don't know. Dig into that at a panel. So the future pipeline, 304 hotels and resorts are scheduled to open this year, 2025, and next year, 2026. That's 100 projects up on the last 2 years, 2024 and 2023, and 3.5 times what opened in the last 2 years. Anticipated openings, speculated openings, hoped for openings. Based on the data that the chains give me and that I rarely question, 20% of those 304 openings are not yet under construction. Will they open in the next 18 months? Uncertain, isn't it? Here's the future openings mapped. Morocco, Egypt. Look at that yellow band in the middle with no openings scheduled. And it almost exactly maps the coup belt, the so-called coup belt, C-O-U-P, coup belt, plus Libya and Sudan, which I need say no more. So that's very interesting, isn't it? That there's nothing anticipated to open there. And then all the other shaded countries have ones or twos or threes or more. Some little countries there, Burundi, Togo, Lesotho, Swaziland, again, also have nothing. Just very, very small nations. If you look at the top 10 countries with pipeline, they're the usual suspects, really, aren't they? Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa. Here's some interesting data, though. Egypt, 46 openings in the next 18 months, so to the end of next year, of which 25 are in Cairo, anticipated. Morocco, 35, 14 in Casablanca, 6 in Marrakesh. Nigeria, 29 openings, 17 of them in Lagos. Ethiopia, 25, 15 in Addis. South Africa, 23, 9 here in Cape Town. Kenya, 16, another 8 in Nairobi. Someone said 10 hotels opened in Nairobi last year. Imagine. Tanzania, 16, 10 are in Zanzibar on the island of Unguja. Ghana, 13, 10 in Accra. It's a relatively small city. Tunisia, fairly spread around the country. No, I couldn't pick out any particular one. And then finally, Côte d'Ivoire is there, 7 in openings in Abidjan. Now, I've talked about percentage of anticipated openings. Here's another way of looking at it, that I reckon, based on lodging econometrics figures, LE figures, about 13% of the global pipeline opens each year. Last year in Africa, we were 11%, so that's not so damn bad, is it? You know, we're close. We're close to the global figure. So hold that thought. That whilst the anticipated figures can be disappointed, the actual compared to pipeline is not so bad. These are the historical figures of openings, but as a percentage of pipeline. 2019 again stands out as a tremendous year with 16%, and there's at 11%. So an average of 10%. We're not so bad. So I said at the beginning, no pipeline, no growth. We've got to sign. We've got to sign deals to get growth in Africa's hotel and resort industry. That's the objective, keep on signing. But here's the rub. Here's the rub. But again, I worked out, making some assumptions, that globally, the average number of deals in the pipeline is about an average of 100 per country. In Africa, I've already told you, 577 hotels and resorts in the pipeline. It's about 10 per country. There's the gap. We don't have enough deals for the growth that we deserve. So, Hotspots is in my title. Where are the hotspots? Well, what do? Do you follow the crowd to where it's happening? Morocco, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa. Do you follow the crowd to where it's happening? Or do you jump in where it's supposed to happen?
We have to
jump in as a pioneer. Is the fact that there are no pipeline hotels in 12 out of 54 countries in Africa, almost a quarter, is that an opportunity or a bridge too far? And I'll leave you just with the story you might have heard before by 2 competing companies that sold shoes. So they send their salesman to the village, anywhere, where nobody wears shoes. And one salesman goes back to his company and says, nobody wears shoes out there. We're not going to sell a single shoe. And the other goes back to his company, great news, nobody has shoes. We can sell them shoes. Is that the same for hotels and resorts? Well, the investors in this audience can answer that question. If you want to download the report that my pipeline figures are, there it is. It's on the front page of my website. Thank you very much indeed.